Hi. Are you tired of winning yet? Not just the whole Trump thing, not just winning the electoral vote, not just winning the popular vote, not just that. But what I love about this win is that it's against the womanists. It's against the people who have told you guys that you're all the ists, isms, and obias. Welcome back to Far From Eden. The people who want to dissolve the patriarchy are really, really mad because it seems like a lot of us kind of like it. A lot of us don't think it's horrible. But much like the Wicked Witch of the West, when she's melting, she's making a big fuss, right? Because she's melting. That's what these people are doing. They're melting down. It's still happening all over TikTok, all over everywhere. And so it's very interesting to me that just a couple days ago, the election, we're over a week out. You know, we're like a week, almost 2 weeks since it happened, right? Are my dates wrong? It's been a long time. Maybe it's been a week. I don't know. There's so much winning. My brain is swimming. I can't tell if it's all the winning or if my MS is making me tired and foggy. Who knows? But I'm enjoying it. Hope you guys can bear with me. But Ms. Magazine, just a few days ago, came out with, I guess that was the 13th. Donald Trump rides patriarchy back to the White House. Hey, if this is a win for the patriarchy, like, can we all vote again? Like, another vote for that? Because it's amazing. But as I said, they're still melting down. So before we get into the Ms. Magazine, ridiculous magazine, can you believe? Before we get into that, let's hear from the chicas what they say is this patriarchy. And at first, this first one is going to sound like she doesn't hate men. It's going to sound like she doesn't hate men. She doesn't blame men. And then
nobody's saying that this patriarchy is this like evil society of men that have all banded together to keep women down. That would be insane.
Right.
Like, the patriarchy is a cultural construct that exists, that has existed for centuries and centuries, and historically puts men in positions of power, puts men in positions.
I think her college professors would be so proud. It's just regurgitation, whatever they learned in college. It's a social construct. Yeah, you would think that if you don't believe in the creator, if you don't believe in God, because that's where the patriarchy originates. Therefore, can never be dismantled.
Of being able to access wealth by land vote, be on juries, etc. Well, women are forced to, well, first of all, trafficked into marriage and other,
Yeah,
other situations like that.
She, in the beginning, remember, like 2 seconds ago, she said it's not this evil whatever, except that women are trafficked into marriage. This, for those of you who say that feminism started, after World War II, blah, blah, blah. No, it didn't. Just 1 second. Let me grab this real quick. Do you see this? I just ordered this off Amazon. This is The Woman's Bible, a classic feminist perspective, written by Elizabeth Cady Stanton. It was originally published in 1895. 1895. So no, it did not get started in the mid-20th century. These ideas that this chick is espousing came from the 19th century. Before that, the Enlightenment, you guys, this is old stuff. And it keeps manifesting itself in each generation. It just becomes a scarier and scarier beast each time. But it's not new. And I would say mid 20th century is kind of new. This is not new. This is just pushing more and more to the left.
But also forced into childbearing and motherly roles if they're lucky.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so, yes, we have progressed.
That's what I'm talking about. Forced into motherly roles. She has been taught, she has been brainwashed, propagandized to think that being a mother is somehow less. That women, that isn't a high calling. That's a slave calling. It's a completely twisted thinking. And she's young enough to think that because she can still think, well, if I choose to be a mother someday. It's complete brainwashing. But again, she's going on about the patriarchy.
Very far since then, at least in the Western world.
Mm-hmm.
There's plenty of places around the world where we have not afforded women the right to education or period products or
Yeah.
Mhm.
other basic human rights that they deserve, or bodily autonomy, etc. But yeah, just because we have progressed does not mean that the patriarchy is dissolved.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's saying that this patriarchy is this.
Okay. So she did say, I mean, she just said nobody's saying, and then she said the thing. But one more, you guys, we're getting it. Because this lady, whoever her husband is, needs to be careful, get an attorney right now.
So today I was talking to my man and I brought up the patriarchy, and he didn't really know it existed. He thought it was just a buzzword that people used. So let's talk about what the patriarchy is. So the patriarchy is just a
Wait a minute. She said talking to her man. Maybe she's not married. Oops. Okay. Well, he better run. Run. So she's going to talk about what the patriarchy is. And judging by her long hair, her long blonde hair, and the way she was talking, I thought she was going to speak it. I thought she was on my side. I thought she was going to say the things I say. No.
a social system where men hold primary power and authority. The patriarchy has been the society structure throughout all of history and still currently is, even in America. We know this because men hold the primary positions of power in our country. Women only represent 27% of our Congress. Women only represent 21% of CEOs and CFOs in our country. And women only represent 30% of college professors in our country. So politics, business, and academia are all controlled by men, let alone religion. Women only hold 22% of leadership positions in the church. So since men are in charge of mostly everything that has power in our country, that's how we know we live in a patriarchy. Now, the patriarchy is damaging for both men and women, so let me explain. So for women first, the patriarchy was very damaging for women throughout history because it limited their ability to have a career, to have an education, or to hold leadership positions, or to even vote up until 100 years ago, or to even be able to get a loan from a
It protected them. It protected women from having to do all that. It protected them from having any of those things so they could focus on their families. They had the privilege to focus all of their energy and time on their families, raising their children, taking care of their children and their husband, loving them. They didn't have to go out and argue and fight and get all in the discourse of things, which is not as contrary to how we're behaving right now. It is not our nature to go out and be like that. It is more the way we're wired to be agreeable. That's why when we get in these situations, we turn into these, like, that's why we seem like chihuahuas. You know, sorry if you had headphones, but that's, you know, what we act like. This woman. We got to check it. She shows her hands. Let's look for a ring and see if she's married. By the way, you guys, I usually forget. My little dog reminds me to ask you guys to please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share the show with your favorite feminists. We know how they like to discuss the patriarchy.
A bank or a credit card up until 50 years ago. The patriarchy reinforces traditional gender roles, telling women
Exactly. Protected us from debt. Because, do you see, we are not great at, we're not good at it. We run up huge amounts of debt. It's and they protected us from that, from the world of money and balancing this and that and the other. We don't like math. We don't like math. Generally speaking, women don't. You know, it's much easier for a man to worry about those things. I know. Women are like, oh my God, that's financial abuse. All right, you can make things up, whatever. But these women out there living like this are not happy.
that they should prioritize family and caregiving over their own personal aspirations and career goals, whereas men can go do whatever they want. Even today, women still face judgment about
Men can go do whatever they want. Men work to support the family. This is not men doing whatever they want. This is men with the responsibility and burden of providing and protecting. That is not doing whatever you want. That's what a little child thinks when they see adults. Remember when you were a kid and you looked at adults and you're like, I can't wait till I'm a grown up and I get to do whatever I want. And adults are like, it's a lot more complicated than that. We have a lot of responsibilities and stress and pressure and blah, blah, blah. You just can't understand because you're a child. Is there a little similarity there? You guys tell me. I wouldn't want to make YouTube angry.
prioritizing their career over their family, even though men do it every day. Also, the patriarchy downplays violence against women, despite the fact that 33% of women have experienced violence from a man. And I will say that 25% of men have experienced violence from a woman as well. The difference
I'll tell you some of the difference. The difference is that a lot of the times women will report the man as being violent when he's defending himself against her. And women will report it's violence if, and I'm not saying a man should punch a hole in the wall or anything like that. I don't think that's good behavior. I'm not here to correct men. But that's not violence against you. Or if he's yelling, that's not violence against you. You don't just get to, redefine all the words. But they will. Also, men report it far less. Men report violence against them by a woman far less. Couple reasons. It's embarrassing. They're embarrassed. And they don't think they'll be believed. And if they call the cops for a long time, and still in a lot of cases, the cops will think, oh, well, this is a DV call. Of course, it's the man who's the aggressor, and immediately be, almost preconceived notions against the man, possibly violence against him, thinking he's the aggressor when he's not. So they're thinking, should I call? Should I report? Probably not. Also, men are like, well, that's the mother of my children. I don't really want to hurt them in any way, etc. Men don't report it as much. This woman. Just vile, just sitting in the privilege that the patriarchy has afforded her.
is the violence from a woman does not usually end the man up in the hospital, whereas the majority of the violence against women ends up with them in the hospital or unalived. The patriarchy also promotes an unrealistic beauty standard for women, which blows my mind that men expect women who literally go through war to give birth to their children and have their bodies totally.
I'm sorry, it's not literally war. It's not literally war. Is childbirth serious? Yes. Is childbirth intense? Yes. Is it painful? Yes. Is it literally war? No. Do you know anything about the trench warfare of World War I? Do you know anything about that, lady? Do you know anything about like the bombing of London and people, holed up in their bomb shelters? You know nothing of it. Nothing of it. And that men expect women to be a certain, thing after having child. They expect you to try. They'd like you to try to, be your best. Just like you expect them to try to be their best at work. Look at the expectations the chicks have for the guys. Look at the money you have to bring home. You better not be disabled. You better not get sick. Right? Because y'all know what'll happen. And she's going to say that you guys expect women to be, like a 16. I'll tell you something. Having been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis at age 22, I actually thought like this too. I thought that no man would ever want me. I thought that I was too broken, too disabled, too sick, too whatever, right? That's what I thought. Later, learning about you guys and becoming red pilled and everything and really learning how you guys think and everything, I'm like, oh my God, I was so wrong. You don't have that expectation. You look at, does this person try? Are they doing the best with what they have? Do they respect themselves? Do they care if does the woman care if the man is attracted? That's it. It's this whole, comparison and standard thing that comes more from other women and competing with each other for the best man. This is not what men expect at all. It's not like that. It's not like that at all. Just gross.
Transformed, and yet the women are still expected to look like a 16-year-old girl afterwards. That's crazy. The patriarchy lets women know that they are there for the male's gaze and that they need to look beautiful at all times for the men to enjoy. And this leads to women having low self-esteem, eating disorders, and mental health conditions as a result of body dysmorphia. Currently in America, there's still a gender wage gap where women are making.
Then why wasn't the anorexia and body dysmorphia and all that self-esteem problems, why wasn't that an issue in 1900 or 1920 or 19, you know what I mean? When the patriarchy was stronger. Huh, that's weird, right? That is so weird. Oh, well, facts can be pesky things sometimes.
83 cents to every $1 that men are making for the same positions. And of course, there's our reproductive rights, where certain states in our country are not allowing women to have body autonomy, not allowing women to have control over what they do with their bodies, because the patriarchy wants to be in control of what women do with their bodies. So gross. And even the majority of media representation shows traditional gender roles where the man in the relationship is the dominant leader and the woman in the relationship is the submissive supporting role. Now, the patriarchy sucks for men too. Unfortunately, it imposes a strict expectation for men being masculine. They have to be stoic. They can't express their feelings or emotions. They can't be vulnerable. They can't have nurturing behaviors. And they certainly can't ask for help or go to therapy, which perpetuates this epidemic we have in our country of male loneliness, depression in men, and a high rate of substance abuse. And the men have a higher.
That is not where that is coming from. Every word this woman says makes me want to just pop out of my skin. I know, the wage gap. It's like, lady, they put in more hours. They're more competent. It's not because of what is between their legs. Oh my God. I just.
Rate of unaliving themselves as a result of this. Men face a lot of stress and anxiety with all the pressure that they have to be breadwinners and succeed and be better than everybody else because the patriarchy perpetuates.
No, that's not why. That's not why. That is not why. Do you know no history? You know no history. What about the centuries where men have been providers? They weren't unaliving themselves then. It's because of you. It's because of us, what we've done. When we constantly tell them they're evil and they're horrible and they want to control our bodies when they really just want to protect the little ones. It's because of you people leaving them, taking their finances, taking their kids, taking their jobs because, woohoo, DEI and affirmative action. That was DEI before DEI was DEI. We used to call it affirmative action, but everything's new. Everything's new. They repackage everything and try to sell it as something new so the young people can be like, look what we discovered. And 40-year-old probably divorcees can get on TikTok and be witches about it.
It's the stereotype that men have to be competitive and they have to win all the time. This strains your friendships and creates a hostile environment professionally and personally. And then it greatly affects their families because they feel emasculated if they are nurturing and warm with their children and playing with their children and doing makeup or nail polish with their daughters. It's crazy. The patriarchy is harmful to women and men. And I'm so grateful for all the voices on this platform that are working to dismantle this social system and get us back to a more egalitarian system.
Back
so today
to
I was talking to my man.
Talking to my man. Wait, is that her left hand? I can't see it. I don't see a ring. Yeah. Run, dude. He's only in it for one thing. You can't. Okay. Whew. She's made me super mad. And this is why there was a red wave, right? Big red wave. Because these people are out of their minds. Out of their minds. Okay. So, what does Ms. Magazine have to say? You know what's crazy? You know what's so weird? This is written by a guy, unless her name is Rob, which you never know in this day and age. There are rainbows everywhere. Donald Trump rides patriarchy back to the White House. Across the country, millions and millions of citizens who supported Kamala Harris's presidential campaign are no longer walking around in a haze, instead moving toward the light. Still, there is emotional fallout that needs our attention. Our nerves are frayed. It's impossible to ignore the stress. It's a good time to sit quietly, take deep breaths, and feel our bodies. They're not adults. They're not. Feel our bodies? It seems personal. After nearly a decade of growling and bombast, Donald Trump rode a patriarchosaurus back into the White House. Why that dinosaur wasn't winded, exhausted, and ultimately defeated will be studied by historians for a long time. Even as we nurse our psychic wounds, the responsibility of redoubling our efforts to hasten the end of patriarchy is still on us. Dinosaurs just aren't that smart. Neither is the author of this article. Voters who thought that January 20th would see the nation's first female president begin work on her to-do list remember well her warning that Trump would be working on an enemies list. Perhaps she would have added to her list holding a series of national town halls about patriarchy and manhood, perhaps coordinated by the White House Gender Policy Council. Oh my gosh, could you imagine a Gender Policy Council? Holy moly, thank God. Whew. Instead, that office will surely be disbanded immediately after Trump's inauguration. You mean it already exists? There is a White House Gender Policy Council. Yes, let's disband that immediately, please. Nevertheless, it would behoove all of us, regardless of our political views, to listen to the frustrations and fears of disenchanted, underemployed, and unemployed men, knowing they'll discover soon enough that they voted against their own self-interest. Really? White male supremacy, which Trump ran on, continues to play an outsized role in exacerbating the divide that afflicts our nation. While not widely understood, men too are damaged by patriarchy. It diminishes us, undermines our humanity. Trump's election means that patriarchy's poisonous objective to further expand male entitlement, privilege, and power is getting fresh wind in its sails, most likely powered by oil. Now that was pretty good, actually. Yeah, let's drill. We have so much oil in this country. There is no need for us to buy oil anywhere else in the world. That's ridiculous. Anyway, that's a side note. Men are not privileged by the patriarchy. They have a lot of responsibility by the patriarchy. Just as the father has a lot of responsibility in his home. Yes, he's the boss, but he also provides and protects. So with that power comes huge amounts of responsibility. That's a big reason why some men's rights activists actually dislike my message. They dislike traditionalism because they think that that is unfair to put the responsibility of providing and protecting on the man. It's interesting that that whole movement, men's rights activists, etc., those groups don't seem to have made a whole lot of progress because they want egalitarianism. And a lot of you guys, you want us men to be men and women to be women. And we have specific roles. We have different biology. We have different roles. We have different everything. So this is just completely wrong and backwards. And it looks, again, as if it's like the child looking at the adult saying, I can't wait till I'm a grown up and I can do whatever I want. Going forward, what was accurate before Election Day is still true. The type of manhood we choose will contribute to determining what kind of a nation we will be. It now looks more like Proud Boys country than a land populated by compassionate men, a Handmaid's Tale world of subjugation, rather than a nation of empowered women and girls. Okay. Stop with the Handmaid's Tale. This is not fiction. I think that's the whole reason they made the screen version TV show of The Handmaid's Tale was for this, so women could use it politically and say, oh my gosh, it's happening. Sorry, I haven't stayed hydrated lately. It's very important. A Christian nation is a compassionate nation. It's just not tolerant to sin. And that's what these people don't like. They want us to continue to tolerate sin, and not just tolerate it, celebrate it. And when we don't, they want to say that we're not compassionate. They want to say that we're full of hate. No, we're not. We have just tolerated ourselves right into Sodom and Gomorrah, and it was a mistake. It was a mistake. We should have known that, human nature is sinful. And therefore, a little too much, tolerance and saying, that's okay, that's okay, that's okay. Suddenly things are really not okay. And this is the backlash. This election is a lot of people going, oh, wait a minute. I was libertarian, but now I see what happens when you give all this freedom. Then the evil will take it and run with it. So this is not the Handmaid's Tale. It never has been the Handmaid's Tale. There is no Handmaid's Tale in Christendom. Men have never forced women to, anyway, I just get so mad. Half the country thought we would be welcoming our country's first sorry, tongue twisted. Half the country thought we would be welcoming our country's first gentleman, Doug Emhoff, and Vice President-elect Governor Tim Walz, representing a 21st century expression of manhood. Yeah, expression of manhood under woman. That's what they want. It's not they don't want egalitarianism. They want female superiority. They have always wanted female superiority. Go back to the original writings of the feminist movement, and you will see that. It is clear as day. You only go back to the middle of the 19th century. It's clear as day. Emphasizing compassion, empathy, and care. Instead, we get a heaping helping of Trump's Archie Bunker 20th century masculinity, gripes and grievance. Too often, men particularly don't acknowledge how much courage it takes to embody compassion and empathy, and conversely, how cowardly it is to rely on meanness and bullying. Yeah, you think it's mean when we disagree. Yet those repugnant qualities are holding sway now. It's on us to find new ways to connect with and mentor young men, bringing into focus a new boyhood, a transformed manhood. Despite facing strong headwinds, we must continue to urge parents, educators, coaches, and other mentors to develop and promote programs that nurture young men's emotional growth and well-being. We can't afford to rest right now. You might want to look at the difference between the outcomes of single mother households and single father household outcomes. You cannot teach boys to be more emotional. More emotional coupled with more testosterone is not good. Also, these people that are down with the patriarchy people are the people that say nurturing and compassion is bad because they want to take away motherhood from women. They want to say it's not important. Everything is backwards. It's upside down world. And it's satanic. Harris's candidacy was supposed to be an antidote to Trump's white male supremacy. There's no such thing. She didn't need to talk about feminism. She embodied it. Perhaps that was the problem. Underplaying her gender, race, and ethnicity didn't protect her from a continuous onslaught of ugly, sexist, and racist slurs that contributed to her defeat. You wish we were not saying ugly, racist, and sexist slurs. We weren't. You wanted us to. You wanted us to so bad. Because you wanted to run on that. You just couldn't. Trump literally said, I don't care what you are. You can be whatever you want to be. It's literally not important. It wasn't a thing. She wanted to say, oh, well, that's just because you're a sexist. Oh, well, that's because you're a racist. That's what the whole campaign wanted to do, but they couldn't. They couldn't. And it was hard for them to run on the race thing because of Candace Owens' whole series about what her heritage actually is. You guys should check that out. Yeah, and she did embody feminism. That is absolutely true. And we said, no, thank you. No, thanks. We don't really want that. No. While feminism simply denotes believing in the political, economic, and social equality of the sexes, Trump and his allies viciously demeaned it at every turn. That is not what it means. They like to say that's what it means, but that's the only time anything they say sounds like that's what it means. Because every other time it's female superiority, including the Women's Declaration of Independence that they wrote back in the 19th century. It's all down with the nuclear family, down with patriarchy, down with the men, like it's all anti-male. And it's not pro-female, because none of this has bettered us at all. Unless you think careers are the purpose of everything. Ah. They demeaned it at every turn. They still do. This is not the moment to invite men to learn what feminism really means. That's for later. They sound like a cult trying to get new members. To bridge our political, cultural, and gender chasm, we'll need to recognize what the election reflected. Patriarchy's grip and the assault on feminism are two sides of the same coin. It's on us now, not January 20th, to make that part of the national conversation. There's a lot of work to do. One takeaway from the Harris campaign still rings true. We're not going back. Well, that's fine, dude. You don't have to go back. But a bunch of us people kind of like the way things used to be. You know? We kind of used to, it was better when women were women and men were men. And there's a lot of women that want to find their way back to that. Unfortunately, they're older and maybe a little too, I don't know, run through, whatever, but there are younger women paying attention. And when I say younger, I mean younger, like maybe 16, right? And they're seeing this stuff on social media and they're thinking about what kind of woman they want to be. And they're having information presented to them that my generation and the millennials, we didn't have this like, oh, wait, you could be a wife and a mother, and guys want, this is what they want. They want low body count. They want, they don't care about career. They don't care about education. I would never have gone to college. Proud college dropout. I would never have gone to college. I wouldn't have gone. I wouldn't have ever slept with anyone unless it was an actual marriage commitment, not government, but a marriage commitment that both of our families were in support of. And, that would be the only way. And it would have been so much better. There are younger women right now that are getting this information that haven't made decisions to go to work or go to school or have boyfriends and date. I wonder if some of them will grow up and be actually marriable. I know that it doesn't help a lot of the, Gen X guys, but there's a chance that some millennials will be like, hey, when I'm 50, I'll marry a 25-year-old. I don't know, but this could turn around if we keep this momentum going, because these people are melting. And I'm here for it. It's awesome. Let's just keep on winning, you guys. Let's just keep winning. Let's not stop. This is fantastic. Fantastic. conservatism and traditionalism like pre-industrial revolution, real traditionalism, it's doing great. So I choose to be optimistic. I hope that you find something that feeds your soul. I hope that you protect your peace. I love you guys, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.